Okay, let's work on this one. I've got four different possible rational functions and the graph of a rational function here. And my goal is to figure out which one of these rational functions could give us the graph that's given to the right. So let's just go down the list. Let's start with r1 of x, the first function. So I can immediately discard this one because I look at my numerator here and I see that that function, this rational function, is only going to have 1, 0. All right, when x is equal to 2, this function will give me 0. So that is true in my graph, but I see that my function also is supposed to have another 0 when x is equal to 0, right? So it can't be the first function. All right, let's think about function number 2. The zeros are correct. I've got a 0 at 0, so that one's taken into account. I've got a 0 at 2, so that one's taken into account. Let's see, what about the vertical asymptotes? I'm supposed to have a vertical asymptote at -1. That's true. I'm supposed to have a vertical asymptote at 3. That's also true. And let's think about the multiplicity of those vertical asymptotes. So this vertical asymptote at -1 has odd multiplicity, and that's true. On one side of the asymptote, I go towards positive infinity. On the other side, I go towards minus infinity. So I do have odd multiplicity there. For that vertical asymptote at 3, I'm supposed to have even multiplicity, so the same behavior. And that's true. On either side of that vertical asymptote, I approach positive infinity. All right, so it seems to me like this might be the function that we're looking for. What else can we use? Let's think about end behavior. So I have a degree 2 on top, right? There's two x's there. I've got a degree 3 on bottom. There's one happening twice. So there's two x's right there and another x right there. So I'm more powerful on bottom than I'm on top. I'm supposed to have a horizontal asymptote at y is equal to 0, and I do see that. Right? As I travel infinitely towards the left, this function approaches 0, or at least that's what it looks like to me. As I approach infinitely, as I approach positive infinity to the right, this function drops down towards 0. So it seems like function number 2 is our guy. Let's keep going though. Let's make sure that R3 and R4 don't work. So for the third function, the zeros are okay, right? I've got at 0, I have a 0, and at 2, I have a 0. The vertical asymptotes, I'm supposed to have a vertical asymptote at 1. Well, I don't have one, right? There's x is equal to 1. There is no vertical asymptote there. So it can't be R3. All right, what about R4? Let's make sure this isn't the right one. My zeros are good. I'm supposed to have a 0 at 0 and a 0 at 2. And how are my asymptotes? This factor here does give me a vertical asymptote at -1. This factor here does give me a vertical asymptote at 3. But if I observe the multiplicities of these asymptotes, I see that they don't quite match up, right? This factor occurs once, so it has odd multiplicity, which is good because my function does that as well. But this factor right here, x minus 3, gives me this vertical asymptote. It occurs once, so an odd number of times. So I'm expecting opposite behavior, right? If it goes up on that side, then it would go down on that side. But that's not what we have. So for that reason, we can throw away this function as well. It looks like R2 is the winner. All right, hope you found this helpful.